So let's be real right out of the gate. Crashing gates. I came into this PLE expecting a full-on car wreck. The build throughout all of this was weird. The storytelling was shaky, even absent. We had a celebrity clutter that was already out of control before even the first pyro in Las Vegas hit in Allegiant Stadium. I was ready to be annoyed and furious. I mean, most of you saw it in my attitude towards yesterday's stream. I was already dismissive about the whole PLE. And then it wasn't as bad, at least as we expected. Now, I know that many people will be dismissive when they see this clip, but hear me out. Because I'm not here to give WWE a participation trophy when it comes to this damn night, even for upcoming tonight. There were actually some matches that were fun, delivered, some fun spots here and there. There were a few moments where I genuinely thought, okay, this is a little better than I would expect based on the build that was delivered. But here's the thing, everyone. This is WrestleMania. Keyword, WrestleMania. You see that? It says WrestleMania. The bar's not set at least some of it work. That's not how we should be defining WrestleMania when it comes to setting up the bar for it. The bar is supposed to be excellence. And when I stack the whole night up against what I would assume is the standard, or what many expect is the standard of WrestleMania, no, it didn't deliver. It still wasn't good enough. And it's ridiculous with the prices they're charging you, the PLE costs that they're trying to charge you, if you are able to have access to that PLE app. So we're going to break down every single match. We're going to talk about what worked, what didn't, and why the biggest show of the year still came across uneven, a little undercooked, and overly managed. This felt like a SmackDown and Raw. Like if you set the bar, if you kept what they did, this results would have worked in a Raw or SmackDown show, because that's what I would expect to those level shows, but not for WrestleMania. And that's the issue. And yes, we do need to talk about the main event, obviously, because the psychology of that match, the way they were trying to make us think about who to root for, was all over the place. Should we be going for Randy? Should we be going for Cody? Like, not like I'm a fan of Randy, I'm going to go for Randy. It's more like, who's the heel? Who is the face? That's the issue that came at hand. It was such a freaking mess. It all fell apart. Everything fell apart around it near the end. So let's get into it. We're going to go through, I guess, what we're going to call the ESPN segment, the first hour. They had a nice introduction by Lin-Manuel Miranda, whatever. I apologize if I messed up his name. Lin-Manuel did a good intro, good little monologue, intro, video package. It was fine. It gave me the vibes of WrestleMania 35 intro, similar style. So a little rinse, repeat kind of situation. Put the feelings aside and try to think who WWE will give us. So the event started, and we first get John Cena, of course, as our host. And the big question that probably many people came at hand is John Cena coming out the way he said he would once he retires, which is a full suit, or is he bringing back his jorts? When I said a few weeks ago, when I said John Cena will be a man of his word when it comes to retirement, what do you know? I was right. So yes, he came in a full suit. He's not putting his jorts back on. He is such in full suit that when his Titantron video showed up, you had all his versions that when he does the salute in all his different shirts. But now they added him doing the same salute in a full-on suit. So there you go. He came down. He wasn't going to run, but then he decided to run because I guess he realized how long the ramp was and he needed to cut time. So he ended up running somewhere halfway through this thing. And he welcomed everyone to WrestleMania, blah, blah, blah. He said, it makes sense why I was chosen as the host, given that this whole WrestleMania build has been very polarizing. And who better to host this polarizing show than one of the most polarizing wrestlers, as Michael Cole would say. So yeah, he said that. He said, welcome to WrestleMania, and yada, yada, yada. They did fireworks. You could barely see the fireworks in the back area of the screen because, you know, they had that video LED fire going on, so you couldn't see the firework go through, which I don't know if they thought of that visually, but it is what it is. I'm doing well, Jacob. Much appreciated. Hope you're doing well. You think he will return for WrestleMania night too? We'll see. He might. I honestly thought he would show up last night. Anyway, so he did that. Then we got to the first show for the ESPN Hour package, I guess we'll call it. And that was the match, the tag match, the Celebrity Mania segment. So we kicked off the night with the 6-man tag, LA Knight and the Usos against Theory, Logan Paul, and IShowSpeed. And ironically enough, IShowSpeed went live during this whole thing. I guess his brother and his father were at ringside by one of the corners where the announcer table is. Usually where the prime bottles are, that's in the corner they were. And so they recorded from their perspective this whole match. And by the time the match went off, obviously IShowSpeed went to buy his brother and scream green apples in order to cut the stream. So if you guys don't know, IShowSpeed, his code word, which people tend to mock him in his live stream, his code word to his editor, director, whoever's controlling the stream, when he says green apples, they cut the stream. So we'll see. It was an interesting thing they did. But look, we got exactly what it looked like it was going to be. A celebrity spot. We had some fast, some chaotic, celebrity-heavy match. This whole match was a way to get outsiders interested in the product. That's why it was set up to be on the free hour on ESPN. And it was meant for people that were IShowSpeed fans or big celebrity fans to be interested in the product. He even did a high spot meant for clips. All you see on the WWE page right now is different clips from this match in order to get people draw attention to this. Now, this match was 7 minutes and about 7.5 minutes, 7:30 seconds. And I'm going to keep going through the minutes because it's an important part of this whole night. The Usos opened by immediately. First of all, IShowSpeed showed up with a cape. That was hilarious. They showed up in the ramp, whatever. They didn't have that big of an entrance. But anyway, the Usos opened by immediately taking Theory and Paul out, leaving just IShowSpeed there, which was a smart move because less time Logan has to slow things down, the better. That left Knight and Speed going at it early at the opening of the match. And it was pretty good showing for Speed. For someone that hasn't really wrestled his first wrestling, he did some decent moves, so good for him. Speed got a power slam in, did pretty well. Got to give it to him. He didn't do much, but he did more than I would expect from a casual celebrity spotter or whatever. The finish saw Knight hit the BFT on Theory to get the win. That was pretty much it. And it was the right call. Knight needed a moment to shine because no one has been given LA Knight any time to shine at this point, so it was fine to do it for this match. The crowd was with it, and it was fine. But the real moment of this whole match was afterwards, which Logan got so mad at Speed. And the reason is, during somewhere in the match, Speed, by mistake, pushed one of the Usos or LA Knight towards Austin Theory, which ended up bumping into Logan Paul, and Logan Paul fell into the ground, and that created the whole mess up for the match, for them to lose the match. Logan Paul was mad. He pushed around IShowSpeed. He was going to put him through a table or whatever, and the Usos and LA Knight helped Speed out. So that ended up having Speed, even though he wasn't really a heel, but he was part of the heel team. He went from heel team to face team, just like that. So that was the moment. Logan turned on Speed, puts him on the announcer table, and then Speed responded thanks to the Usos and LA Knight by climbing to the top of the ring post and hitting probably the most gorgeous crossbody that you will see from a celebrity turned wrestler. And they both went through the announcer table, and Paul got knocked out. And the crowd went wild, and that was the clippable viral moment for WWE. Speed celebrated with Knight and the Usos, and that was it. That's the one people are going to share today throughout social media. Here's what I'll say, though. This was obviously not a wrestling masterpiece, and don't expect it to be. This was barely had any storytelling driven through it. It was just meant to be a social media clip promoting WrestleMania. It was all entertaining fluff. LA Knight got his time to shine. Logan got his spot. Speed got his big table moment. On a night like this, entertaining fluff still counts for something, at least for most people, not the wrestling hard fans. Anyway, we move on to the second match of the ESPN hour, which is what they supposedly called an unsanctioned match, which I think I call cap because it wasn't really. And we'll go through it. Now, the match, regardless whether you call it unsanctioned or not, it was still a really interesting match because this is the match that actually started showing up for WrestleMania. This was one of the longer matches, hitting at 14 minutes and 17 seconds of just Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre trying to hurt each other. And I mean that in the best possible way. Fatu attacked before McIntyre even got into the ring. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, when it comes to unsanctioned matches, it means WWE is not responsible. They are just leaving the match there. They'll put a ref for a good measure, but it's not supposed to be like they're backing behind it or anything like that. Yet the match was sponsored by someone, which was weird. How can you have an unsanctioned match and have a sponsor? It is what it is, I guess. We got Fatu attacking, like I said, at the beginning of the match, even before the bell rang. Tables came out early. McIntyre answered with a wrench, and I'm going to assume it is an actual wrench based on how clearly we can see it, trying to grind into Fatu's eyes. So that's probably the closest to a crazy unsanctioned match we're going to get, besides the whole situation of chairs, tables, because you'll see that in any typical wrestling match. The referee's belt was also being used as a whip, which is a call out to a previous SmackDown segment from a few weeks back. You got a Glasgow kiss, you got a Claymore, two boxes being thrown straight to the face. This match committed to being exactly what it was supposed to be. It had violence and it had urgency because they were on a time crunch because they needed to end by 7 o'clock. And it had some identity between these guys. But at the end, Fatu hit the mighty moonsault through a table, and that was it. And the match was done. And walk away from the match, Fatu still looked dangerous. He looked powerful. He looked like properly built for whatever story he's going to have next. Now, McIntyre is probably taking time off because he apparently is going to be doing the Highlander movie in the future, but Fatu got put over, and rightfully so. He needed it for whatever's coming next. He's probably going to go for the mid-card title again. We'll see. McIntyre looked tough to defeat regardless, though, which still protected him, but Fatu was just more dangerous last night. When a match gives you both guys going out like that, that's probably the best way you can do an unsanctioned match, but they could have done a little more. I think it just needed to look like no one was committed. Like usually, like for AEW, I think for unsanctioned matches or even in NXT, they turn off the lights. They don't even have graphics. They don't do anything. They should have came out with no graphics, no music, no nothing. Because it's supposed to be like WWE is not committed to this at all. We're just giving you the space. We're not in charge of your graphics. We're not in charge of anything. They should have just came out in darkness. Maybe not turn off all the stadium lights, but just turn off the ones that's supposed to highlight it like a WWE match. It was probably one of the better things in the show, regardless, even for the ESPN free hour. And it's probably the match that they needed to sell people who haven't decided on ESPN to buy it now. Now, then they transitioned to the main ESPN pay-per-view, which was a weird transition because it was weird. Yeah, so AEW did a turn off the lights match. Exactly. And it's the last match. Okay. But you guys get what I mean. It shouldn't feel like WWE is promoting it. The fact that they had sponsors saying this match is brought to you by XYZ. Why is a sponsor sponsoring an unsanctioned match? Unless they say the story is that's how they paid the bills for the graphics, but whatever. Now, they started with the women's fatal four-way, which some people were complaining it was a bad way to start the ESPN hour or the ESPN block of the pay-per-view. But again, you got to understand, although ESPN portion of WrestleMania started at 7, WrestleMania actually started at 6 with the regular ESPN channel. So in reality, this is the third match continuing. The first two matches weren't pre-show. It was WrestleMania. So the fact that some people are saying, oh, they started the ESPN block wrong. No, they started it right. They started with a weird tag match to warm up the crowd. Then they did a very power-heavy match with Fatu and McIntyre, and then they did this one. Anyway, we have a fatal four-way for the women's tag team titles. The Irresistible Forces defending against Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria, and then the Bella Twins. Now, if you guys haven't been following, not apparently, it is a fact that Nikki Bella got injured a few weeks ago on Raw. Her leg is broken, and she's been trying her best to recuperate it to last night to be able to participate because all the Bellas wanted is to have a WrestleMania moment where they both won the tag team titles. It was a dream of theirs. They're freaking twins. It obviously makes sense. So obviously, if the Bellas were going in, it was the clear-cut winner that they would be the winners of that match. But it didn't go that way. So Nikki Bella, when the Bellas came out, they were the last ones to come out. The second to last were the Irresistible Forces, and shout out for them making I'm going to say, a champion's version of the Demolition ring entrance gear. They had the mask, they had the shoulder blades and whatever, but instead of the black and red, I believe, colors that the Demolition used, theirs was full white, which I at this point call champion's white, because usually when the champions show up at a PLE, they're always dressed in white and gold. So it was a good look for them. I appreciate their thoughtfulness. It was a good thing. But then we get to the Bella twins. So the Bella twins came out and announced that Nikki Bella wasn't medically cleared to compete, that she tried her best to get cleared by tonight, but it didn't happen. And she said instead of them taking the L, she introduced someone from their past to be able to help Brie out, because Brie wanted this moment more than Nikki or whatever, so they didn't want to leave. So who comes out? Paige. And that's when the crowd popped, which was great. The crowd popped. Paige came out to her old theme, the original Paige music from NXT and so forth. She comes out. The crowd was wild. I mean, we all knew it was coming once Nikki said that she wasn't going to be able to participate. And the reason is because the rumors and people like Wrestling Meltzer's group made the announcement that Paige signed a contract with WWE the day before, which was unfortunate for many fans because it could have been a great surprise, but it ended up not being a surprise. We already knew it happened. How amazing that pop would have been. And the reason I'm saying it would have been amazing, because the best example of that is when Naomi showed up at the Royal Rumble in 2024. In 2024, she showed up as entrant number 1 or entrant number 2. No one knew. No one knew. No one announced she signed a contract. It was kept hush-hush. The stadium, I didn't watch it live on TV because I was there in Tampa. The crowd was loud. They popped. They were hard. They were going hard for her. They were happy to see her back. We could have gotten a similar pop, but half of the audience already knew. So much that Michael Cole tried to pretend that, oh, it's such a surprise. And the WWE camera people, as soon as he said that, showed a fan with the sign saying, is back. Someone already pre-written the sign. So it wasn't a shocker for anyone, which is unfortunate. It could have been a great WrestleMania pop. It would have looked great on video. It would have looked great on X when you show it on social media. Triple H could have wrote, never know what's going to happen in WrestleMania. But unfortunately, we did, because the news media outlets ruined it for all the fans. So shout out to the outlets for fucking it up for us. Anyway, 8 minutes and 35 seconds was this match. Brie, Flair, and Valkyria are brawling from the jump of this match. Paige tags in and immediately starts cleaning the house. Nikki Bella still on her crutches, but in some part of the match, she pulls Charlotte out of the ring and beats her with the crutch. Now, let me repeat that. Nikki Bella crutches Charlotte Flair. Love to see it. A little payback from previous weeks. Paige gets her knees up on Bliss's Twisted Bliss move from the top rope and finishes her with the Rampage. And we get new women's tag team champions, Paige and Brie Bella. I really didn't have this in the bingo card. I honestly expected them to fully switch them out with another tag team, like the Kabuki Warriors, maybe. I think that's what other people were thinking as well. Or honestly, they should have just pulled out the 4th team and make it a triple threat match. But I guess it was more important for Brie to get the tag team belt, which I think it's unfortunate in my opinion, because I thought it would have been more special that the first time she becomes tag team champion is with her twin sister. But it is what it is. Yes. But can they coexist? Knowing the Bellas, as soon as the Bellas find out that Nikki is cleared, they will turn on Paige. And maybe Paige will join another group. Who will she join? I don't know. PCB? What was PCB? Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. So maybe she'll team forces with Becky. Maybe we'll get a Becky versus Paige match in the future for the Intercontinental title. Who knows? Yes, thanks IWC. Is it the IWC who ruined it or the news media outlets? Anyway, we move on to the next match, which is between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch for the women's Intercontinental Championship. Sorry. This match was 8 minutes and 16 seconds. Now, the funniest part of this is I have to look it up while we do this, I did not know the new theme of Becky Lynch entrance was done by a group. I thought that was the stupid AI music that WWE gets to do. What's that group called? I don't care. But apparently the artist of Becky Lynch's song called New Lows is by punk rock band The Wonder Years. And The Wonder Years were there to perform the entrance for Becky, which is great. We had, in the past, we had Rhea Ripley's at WrestleMania 40, her artist perform for her. We've had Motorhead perform for Triple H. All cool. Great. Enough space in that damn ramp for a whole freaking marching band to be there. So great. We have enough space for them to set up. What I didn't expect is they were going to lip sync. So they ended up lip syncing, which is weird. If they had time to prep, it's their own freaking song. They performed the song. So why are they lip syncing? Which it was obvious. It looked like WWE or whoever's in the back playing the audio started the song early without a proper cue, that the Wonder Years head singer had to catch up with the song. So it clearly looked like he was lip syncing. But why? Why do you need to lip sync for this song? Did they not pay these people enough money to perform live? That's the whole spectacle of WrestleMania. You have artists perform live. You get wrestling matches, maybe a little concert here and there. We have Bad Bunny in the past perform at Royal Rumble during pandemic. We've had other artists. We had Flo Rida perform for The Rock at WrestleMania 28. We had Machine Gun Kelly for John Cena also at WrestleMania 28. We've had artists perform before. So why did this happen? All these other performances, by the way, were for tickets at the floor seats for under $5,000. And now they're $40,000, $30,000. And you're telling me an artist cannot perform live? Unless it was very last minute. Don't give me that excuse regardless. They're artists. That's their thing, to sing. And you couldn't make them lip sync. They had a lip sync, which was gross. So it ruined the whole moment for Becky, in my opinion. Whatever. So she came out. Whatever. She had her fluff outfit. It looked great. Good for her. Beautiful. But then AJ Lee comes out. She does a similar style of John Cena with the clone John Cena's that they come and they do this. I think that was at WrestleMania 25 that they did that for John Cena. So AJ Lee did something in a similar manner, but with young girls, young kids, female girls, a bunch of girls dressed up in the same wrestling gear as AJ Lee. They all came out skipping, so they were all freaking skipping down the ramp with her. I am surprised no one tripped, but good for I'm like good for them not tripping down that ramp. So great entrance for both of them. Well, great entrance for AJ Lee because hers hit it the way she probably intended, but Becky unfortunately had a lip syncer, which they should never do again. But anyway, we get to the match. Lee from the start was toying with Lynch early in the match. If you guys don't know, Becky is the heel and AJ Lee's the champion for the story, but Lee was the one toying around, which I found hilarious, and just Becky running around angry, dealing with all the toying. But eventually Lynch fights back, hits a fallaway slam into the barricade. Lynch tries to pull off the turnbuckle cover. Like at the beginning, she got so frustrated. She was trying to get off the turnbuckle cover, which I guess did back at Elimination Chamber or a previous match. But obviously, referee Jessica Carr stops it. And eventually, they get back and forth. Lee goes for the Black Widow. Lynch blocks it. Lynch goes for the manhandle slam. Lee blocks it. Lynch swings into the corner and the hit manhandle slam again for a 2 count. Now, Lee locks in for the Black Widow again. Lynch grabs the hair to break it. And then again, Lynch gets that turnbuckle cover off while Carr checking on Lee. But even before that, and I forgot to mention this, and I apologize, during the first one that she tried to rip off, Carr puts it back in. They get into a squabble to the point that Becky Lynch had enough and starts and pushes Jessica Carr. And Jessica Carr, in old school referee fashion, when a referee deals with that, she pushed back. And they get into a squabble, probably setting up for finally a future thing, which probably many expected it would have happened at WrestleMania. But this is probably going to be either a backlash or a future event that Jessica Carr is probably going to get into the ring with Becky Lynch. So they had a little scuffle, but eventually it heated off. Then by the time Lynch goes back to the turnbuckle to cover it, she quickly hides that she took it off while Carr was checking on Lee. Lee accidentally takes out the referee while Becky was in the corner. AJ Lee tries to run towards her, but Becky, being smart, she grabs Jessica Carr, puts her in front of her, and she knocks out the ref temporarily. And while AJ Lee is startled because she didn't realize what she did, Becky quickly grabs her and hits her head at the exposed turnbuckle while the ref wasn't looking, hits the exposed steel on her head, does the manhandle slam, and by the time Jessica Carr wakes back up, she does the pin for a new champion. We got the dirty pin, which is fine. Look, originally I wanted AJ Lee to win, but I get you after hearing that AJ Lee is not going to come back for a while, she's going to take time off. It makes sense why she had to win. We need a current champ always present for a mid-card title. That's supposedly the workhorse title, and that champion should always be present on the shows and do their thing. The match worked within the time they were given. The exposed turnbuckle payoff was set up properly, and Becky winning felt like the right thing to do. I don't give a major gripe with this match specifically, though the time issue, it would have been nice this match went a little longer because these two girls can definitely go at it, but we didn't get it. So we won't see. AJ Lee spoke later with one of the interviewers saying she's taking time off, which is fine. If she's not going to be here full time and she's only here as a part timer, she shouldn't really hold that title. So they did the right call. Hopefully Becky drops it to another deserving younger talent in the future, but we'll see. So before we get into the Nets match, let's talk about the time issue that we saw in WrestleMania last night. We're going to stop here for a second because we should talk about this. We are at WrestleMania. This is the biggest show of the year. And I was sitting here looking at these match times after WrestleMania finished because it felt short. And I went back to like Wikipedia and I double checked with another place because them saying that the Liv Morgan and Vaquer match was 8 minutes. I didn't believe it. It felt shorter. But anyway, I was doing the math, and first of all, the 6-man tag match was 7 minutes. The women's intercontinental title was 8 minutes. The women's tag match was 8.5 minutes. Average of around 8 minutes of large stretches of this card at WrestleMania. That's not okay for this, especially for a 2-night. Why are we not putting a little more time for these matches? It's messed up because WrestleMania is not supposed to feel like television show disguised as a big PLE. It's supposed to feel like an epic night unfolding with stories being told off or starting. Every match should feel like an event within the event. And instead, it felt like they were hitting checkpoints. Like match number 1, check. Next one, check. Next one, check. Make sure you put a commercial there, check. Get in, get out. Keep the machine rolling. If I was paying for this WrestleMania, like in person, paying WrestleMania money, I want matches that feel worth the event that I'm going to. I want to feel that weight between every title match, every big feud match, or every fight match, or rivalry or whatever. I want it to breathe properly. It's like freaking drinking wine. You get a good bottle, you spend all that money, you let it breathe and enjoy it. And you better expect it to be great. That's how this should feel with WrestleMania, with the ticket price, all the money you have to spend to get there, all the build-up, everything that the crew have to do to set up this, making it look like a grand spectacle. But it felt off cheap with the timeline. And that's one of the many things that made it feel cheap. And a lot of night 1 didn't give me that grand spectacle. And that became the structural problem when it came to this setup for this whole event. And it hurt the whole show more than people are going to admit. People are going to say it was great because they were there. I'm like, good for you. You were there. It doesn't mean the show wasn't structurally done properly. We didn't even get a great setup. At least I set my expectations to a level that I wasn't going to get furious. And now I'm just dealing with the pain. Now, let's go to the next match. Seth Rollins versus Gunther. This was the second longest match. It hit 15 minutes and a few seconds. And finally, this was a match that felt like it belonged at a major wrestling event like WrestleMania. Gunther attacked before even the bell rang, leveled Rollins with a dropkick before they even locked up. Rollins took control outside, threw a chair at Gunther because Seth Rollins does not play fair when he doesn't have to. He was going at it. They both were going at it. They get into the ring, Gunther landing those trademark chops and elbows. Rollins counters into a buckle bomb. Then it escalates. Rollins hits his pedigree. He hits a stomp. Gunther kicks out at 2. Then Gunther catches Rollins on a top rope attempt and traps him in a sleeper. That was pretty amazing. Rollins counters eventually with a superplex, Falcon Arrow. Gunther kicks out, back and forth. And then they had an announcer table sequence. Rollins hits 2 suicide dives and then goes for a third. Then Gunther catches him and powerbombs him onto the ring apron. The crowd loses it. This was probably the most you will get from the crowd that night. They take it to the announcer table again. Rollins counters into a pedigree onto the table, then a stomp on the table. This probably was the best escalation you will see. It probably was that night's chef kiss escalation of the night. But then Braun Breaker runs down the ramp and spears Rollins while the referee was checking on Gunther. Now, it was a normal 1-on-1 match, so because thankfully the referee didn't see it, it wasn't a DQ. Breaker hits him, and then he rolls him back into the ring. Gunther locks in the sleeper, and Rollins goes unconscious, and the bell ring, and Gunther wins, which, after thinking about it, even though I wanted, again, another bad pick of mine, I picked Seth. Gunther should have won. It makes sense, because, yeah, if he's going for the career killer gimmick, then he needs to look strong. And if they set it up that way, it's because if you think about it, if Obafemi is facing Brock Lesnar now, chances are Brock Lesnar is facing Gunther at SummerSlam. If they're really going with SummerSlam being his retirement match, then maybe they're going to have Gunther retire Brock Lesnar. How is that going to happen? I don't know, because we're talking about a classic wrestling style, ring general, whatever that we have from Gunther going against a fucking monster, a freaking beast. How those two work in a ring, it'll be an interesting thing to see. You might get a maybe something as close to a Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Which one was that? WrestleMania, was it I think it was 19. Yeah, WrestleMania 19, which is the one where there was a scary moment where Kurt Angle almost hurt he fell a certain way after going from the top rope and almost broke his neck. It was either Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar. It was a scary moment. It was an interesting match to watch, but because Kurt Angle is a more technical wrestler, similar to like Gunther, in similar ways of Gunther, maybe we're going to get that style of match, which is fine. It's doable. But anyway, two things can be true at the same time when it came to this match. This match was obviously the clear highlight of night one. It had physicality. It had an escalation throughout the whole match, and they had some type of structure when it came to them working together. It felt like a major, just what's the best way to say it? It felt like two major players trying to win a major match, obviously. And then I generally enjoy this, and this was the only high expectation match I had for the night. But I did not need the Braun Breaker interference personally, but I get why they had to do it, because they're obviously setting up for the next match, or what's supposed to be the match for them at WrestleMania, which was supposed to be Braun versus Seth. That's what people were saying. Seth versus Braun was supposed to happen, but unfortunately Braun got hurt. So they had to go with an alternative. So they're going to set up this match. They're going to do something probably at Backlash or Clash at Italy, maybe Money in the Bank. Who the hell knows? They're going to have something. It would have been great to have a clean finish for Gunther, but does he need it at this point? Not really. He's already over. It's fine to have this at one time or another. But anyway, it's okay. We can deal with this. It wasn't a big deal. At first, I thought why couldn't they have a clean win? But it is what it is. They're trying to set up a net story, which is fine. Let's move on to the next match, which was Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. And this is the match that pretty much annoyed me. And if you know why, we will go why. But it was cool. They started the match with Liv Morgan's new release song. What's it called? Trouble? Yeah, Trouble. She released earlier this week the song Trouble. She did a music video and everything, which is in similarities to her ring entrance music, but now she has lyrics to it. So it started with the music video, but then it gradually transitioned to her performing it in the middle of the ring. And it was great. It was fine. Now, they lip sync too. But you know what? It's okay for them to do it because they're not professional. They're not professional singers. She is not, at least not yet. The fact that she did this while having a freaking bruised up face, shout out to her for doing that. And then they had dancers there. They were dancing on the chairs and everything. And then they had this one guy, which probably all the gooners out there in the wrestling world wish they were that very moment. They wish they was that guy holding her and whatever. Most likely. And then she danced her way down to the ring, so on and so forth. And it was great. Now, La Primera, Stephanie Vaquer, this is her first WrestleMania match. She didn't have a big entrance, which is fine. She came in as champion. She had this nice long robe. They shot flower pieces all over the arena. So it looked like she was like royalty coming down. She didn't need a grand entrance, but the little touch of flowers coming out and dropping and her coming out with a large robe, that was cool. It fitted her. So it's fine for now. Maybe in the future she'll have a grander entrance. Originally, she wanted one of her favorite her favorite metal bands to perform her entrance for her. But I guess WWE didn't want to spend the money or the licensing rights to do it. But whatever. Maybe she'll do it later. But anyway, it was fine. Great entrances for them too. But this is where we're gonna get to. Minutes and 51 seconds. That's the time of the match for the women's highest title on the Raw brand. That is not a short match. It's at this point flat out insulting. That is the biggest women's single match of night one of WrestleMania, and it got less time than some of the matches on Raw, some of the matches of that night. Cody Rhodes' entrance was longer than this match. Think about how wild that is. And look, within those 7 minutes, there were things happening. Vaquer hit the Devil's Kiss. Morgan countered into a backbreaker. She hit the code breaker, which was fine. But I guess they were running out of time, that they had to rush it, because it got to the point that then Roxanne Perez appeared and distracted the referee, and probably distracted a lot of people watching, because the outfit she was wearing, people were not paying attention to the rest of the match after that. They were just focusing on her. Roxanne Perez distracts the referee while Raquel Rodriguez knocks Vaquer off the top turnbuckle. Vaquer dives out to take them both out, comes back in, eats another code breaker and an oblivion, and Liv Morgan wins the match. We get a new women's champion, which is fine. Unfortunately, I'm not blaming Stephanie Vaquer, because creative has completely failed her during her championship run. They could have done better stories for her. She could have had better storylines. I understand she has a language barrier, but so did Io Sky, and she did fine. They could have done it for her. This woman is talented as hell. She can do anything you throw at her, and they didn't give her that opportunity. They gave her a decent storyline with Raquel Rodriguez, but obviously that wasn't going to go anywhere. And maybe it becomes a thing that they talked about the writer's room with Chelsea Green. Chelsea can only beat certain people. Anyone else, it's too above her. Maybe they see the same thing with Stephanie Vaquer at the moment. She can't have a feud with Charlotte Flair. She can't have a feud with this person, because if they do, she has to lose to them, which is effed up at this point. We had Charlotte Flair beating Natalya years ago at NXT. I guess Natalya it's the exception to the rule, because everyone can beat Natalya, which is freaking insulting as well. Regardless, I guess you have to dance your way to a championship, and that's what Liv Morgan did. So congrats to her regardless. She deserved it. Her evolution from her jersey gimmick that I didn't even know about until my wife told me about it, because I didn't watch early NXT, guys. I started watching at Black and Gold. She had this early jersey gimmick all the way to now. She had an evolution. Vince almost swerved her by making her do this weird OnlyFans style gimmick when she left the Riot Squad. You know, when they did the promos of her in the bathtub, coming out of the bathtub with her face coming out, doing that type of gimmick. They were promoting that, and eventually it died out, and she came out with her own look and style, which was great, because she grew tremendously. She got her Royal Rumble moment. She got her WrestleMania moment. I wish she got more time, because they both deserved it. But it is what it is. It's insulting, honestly. I don't know what else to say about this match. It was just goddamn insulting that they had to resort to her messing up and to using other people, which is fine. You can do that, but guess what? Roman Reigns did the same thing to Cody at WrestleMania 39. He had people help him, but the match was long, and it was a decent match. It was a good match. Why couldn't they do the same for Liv and Stephanie? They could have made her win. They could have made Judgment Day help her at the end, but they could have had more time to show how far they can go. Stephanie Vaquer definitely deserved that. I really hope her dad wasn't there. I really do. What in the world does a champion crowning moment feel like with this mid-show segment? It wasn't a WrestleMania showcase here. This was a TV result, honestly. The interference cluttered with little time they had. Vaquer deserved better than this. the match deserved better than this. And honestly, the women's division deserved better overall when it came to this WrestleMania. Now, real quick, before we get to the main event, obviously, the host of WrestleMania has two things: welcoming you at the beginning, and somewhere in between the show or before the main event, come out and tell you the attendance record. So they had 50,000, a little over 50,000 people there. They somehow swiveled the last 10 minutes, the 10,000 people to show up. Good for them. Ticket whatever website, by sometime in the afternoon yesterday, they hit the 50,000 mark. It wasn't them inflating the number. So they hit 50. It's still lower than last year's and previous years. So they still have a lot. But and Nick Khan's mind, they only did a small percentage lower than last year. So they're still good. So they don't care. To them, this is still a win, which is unfortunate because they should do better. But like I said yesterday, the only way they're going to push to do better is if people stop messing with the product, meaning don't go to the shows, don't buy a lot of merch, don't do this, don't do that. When they see their numbers go down, that's when they're going to figure out a way to make the program better. You don't believe me? If you guys don't believe me, that's why the Attitude Era started. One, because yes, WCW was kicking them in the ratings, but people were so interested in that product that they turned away from WWE. And they needed to do something drastic to get them to watch their product again. That's how it works. Now, right now, AEW is trying to do that, and that's why they're doing the stuff they have to do to get people to watch. TNA's trying to do their version of that, and so on and so forth. So that's the only way you're going to expect changes from WWE. Otherwise, they're going to keep going. To them, they did good. For all I know, if Saudi Arabia doesn't go well because of the conflicts going on in the Middle East, they're coming back to Vegas for a third round. Let's triple that bet, guys. Let's do Vegas Part 3. Every great trilogy ends in 3. Mark my words. Now, after he announced the numbers, one of the greatest female wrestlers that's currently injured showed up. Bianca Belair joined him. And she says, obviously, you can't have WrestleMania without the EST of WWE, which is her. She shows up in a robe. Obviously, for me, once I saw that robe, I'm like, oh, the girl's pregnant. A bunch of us in Discord are like, oh, she's pregnant. Yeah. She had a similar outfit that made me think right away of Rihanna performing at the Super Bowl. She usually wears tight outfits. This was the first time she wore an outfit that wasn't tight to her body. So either she didn't want to reveal something, or she just decided to be big wardrobe woman that day, which is not true. So she got pregnant. And rightfully so, because her injury is putting her in the sideline for a while. So I guess her and Montez decided, hey, might as well get pregnant while we wait for your finger to get better, which is fine. You probably won't see her. Some people are saying, oh, she'll be back by WrestleMania 43. I think she'll be back after. Maybe SummerSlam 2027, if she really wanted to. I don't know. I don't know what's her plan as a mother, because look how long it took Becky to come back. And then she went away to take care of her family. So I think family is very important. It's been known that family is important for her. So her rushing back is not going to be a thing. We will have to wait and see. So the other department better step up. Can't wait to hear stories of Naomi's kids and Bianca's kids hanging out and, being friends. Beautiful. It was a beautiful moment when she announced she was pregnant. The crowd went nuts. They were happy for her. Her outfit, as always, custom made by her, and she did it in a way that she can show her bump without looking weird. She did a beautiful job with her wardrobe, as always. And obviously, John Cena, adding in that promo in him, said, well, gotta add one more to the WWE family, so our attendance went up by 1. And I'm glad you shared it with us here, because WWE is your family. I'm glad you shared it with all your family members here. All the family members that had to spend over $1,000 to get there. Yep, that's family. Family. Yeah. But anyway, still a beautiful moment. I'm glad she was able to do it. So congratulations to Bianca. The moment was earned for her. It felt genuine, at least in her end, and it landed well, in my opinion. I just wish afterwards they just let it be. John Cena didn't have to add that stupid 5,001 or whatever. It was cheesy as fuck. Anyway, let's move on to the greatest match of the world. I'm just kidding. This match, minus the entrance, this match was 22:42 seconds. the main event for WrestleMania Night 1. Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Randy Orton with Pat McAfee in Orton's corner. Now, by the time they announced this match was about to begin and they did the promos, it was around 9 o'clock. Yeah, 9 o'clock. And then they started doing the entrances. And we know how long the entrances were going to be. I was expecting Pat McAfee to just come out with Randy Orton. But of course, Pat McAfee had his own entrance. And how do you know he's a heel, guys? Originally, his entrance is all blue because of his Indianapolis Colts team. Because he was part of that team, he follows that Colts blue color. But because he's a heel now, he changed his graphics to red. And now he has the Stone Cold middle finger thing as he comes down. And he has glasses like The Rock. So he's a heel, guys. If you didn't know, just check the red on the Titantron. So he was doing middle fingers everywhere and whatever. She had a blue bandage on her finger. Yep, because she's recovering. Yeah, red and black. Red and black. Thank you for clarifying, Chef Maku. Yes, they were red and black. But regardless, a heel on a heel. He comes down, curses people out, middle finger everyone, yada, yada, yada. Then Randy Orton comes out with the Titantron that had a snake running through the LCD screen, and then it comes out, and then he comes out. I swear his entrance felt as long as The Undertaker, him coming down the ramp. People were cheering, they were screaming after his song and everything. I heard that some people are saying the audio was popped, that it was popped in audience reaction, because they were saying after the first pop, the other pops were lower or people weren't reacting. I don't know how true that is. I mean, WWE's been known to pop the audience with fake audio at times, but I don't know if they did it then. We will just have to wait and see when it's actually confirmed. But the main event was bad, regardless. Cody Rhodes' entrance, he came out. He had a weird Tony Stark Batman-like gear setup that showed the 4 different WWE eras of Cody Rhodes. They had the early young boy days with the green trunks and all that when he premiered, when he did his first couple years. Then he had the dashing Cody Rhodes gimmick with the mask, the cool one-piece jacket. Then Stardust, and everyone popped for Stardust. It was a nice pop. I guess people, as much as they hated Stardust when Stardust was here, I guess they will always remember that gimmick. And then they obviously did the American Nightmare gimmick. I think it was the first coat he wore at WrestleMania 38. Then he comes out of the ground with probably the most beautiful American Nightmare jacket yet. Old scales, not only in the shoulder pad like usual, but throughout the whole jacket, all golden. A golden mask. The modernized mask that originally when they started using that mask, it popped out like Tony Stark's helmet in the Marvel movies. But this one didn't. This one didn't pop like that. He had to take it off this way. I don't know if it's because they just did that change on the spot that they couldn't make the gears work again. But I missed that it popped out. It was a cool little touch. Maybe more Disney sued them and said, stop doing that shit. But anyway, this match was mid to low. It wasn't historically awful. And it wasn't unwatchable until after Pat McAfee got taken out. But it was bad in a specific way that was the most important thing when it came to this match. And that was the way they wanted people to feel in this match, the psychology of how this match was supposed to be. I didn't know if they wanted me to cheer. Like, I know who I wanted to cheer. I knew who I wanted to win. But if I didn't know who to pick, if I was a brand new person, I didn't know who was the heel, who was the face. Because the way they acted, they made it look like both of them could have been heel, both of them could have been faces. It was a weird all shit. And that's what probably was the biggest sin that I saw that, besides the Pat McAfee thing. Now, to be clear, this is what I mean. The story going in, seemingly building towards Orton as the monster of this match, the heel, the predator, the relentless challenger who's searching for number 15. Someone willing to do whatever it took to win. Cody's relentlessness that they had was setting up what was felt like a groundwork for a potential double turn. Throughout the match, he was doing stuff like a heel. Were they trying to set up for a double turn? A Cody Rhodes who was becoming the mythological calculating champion throughout the match. He was doing stuff that you will see a heel do. He was smearing blood on him. He was doing the move thief maneuver. I call it the move thief because that's what they call it at the 2K games. But basically, Cody was doing Randy Orton's moves, and then Randy Orton eventually started doing Cody Rhodes' moves. That's a heel thing to do. because it's a way to mock the face. And Randy Orton was trending towards something more sympathetic in some parts of the match. But that is the story I would have been fascinated by if they actually did the double turn. Because why not at this point? Try something new, because it wasn't working what they were trying to do. The match kept hinting at it. Orton's selling Cody's intensity, the crowd reading the room and feeling pulled in both directions. But besides that part, we had the other annoying part of this match, which was Pat McAfee. He was ringside for most of the time at the beginning of the match, and then at the end. He kept messing with both of them were beating up Cody Rhodes at the beginning. They didn't ring the bell yet, and eventually they were able to start the match. Eventually, Cody was able to push Pat McAfee to the table, and out of nowhere, Jelly Roll shows up, jumps from one table and smashes through the other one and knocks Pat out. And he got hurt to the point that they stretched him out. He locked in a Vince similar fashion of a stretcher and sticked out his middle finger. So he was doing every freaking playbook thing moment of the Attitude Era. That's Pat McAfee's heel gimmick, I guess. A copycat of the Attitude Era. Do whatever everyone liked in the Attitude Era and do that. Pat McAfee's presence created a most annoying moment in WrestleMania, but I'm glad he was out and we got to business. They had the weird double turn type of hint thing. Was it going to happen? Wasn't going to happen? Who knew? And then eventually the ref got knocked out after all these different moves being done, doing each other's moves and shit. And eventually Pat comes back with a neck brace on and a ref outfit. And a lot of people probably call that. They expected him to come back, because usually when WWE does a thing that someone gets stretched out or gets taken out of the arena at the beginning of a match, they eventually do come back, or someone else will come back. I honestly was hoping it was The Rock coming back. If we were going to try this TKO kind of versus WWE kind of era, it would have been nice to The Rock come out. But some people are now saying that he may come out for night 2. We'll see. Probably not. Don't be disappointed if he doesn't show up. I'm not. So he shows up trying to push Randy to make the count, make him pin him to the point that I guess Randy got annoyed and RKO'd him. Was that meant for him to be face now? Does that mean he was face? It sounded like it, but then Cody did something sneaky and then got the sneak pin or whatever, and then that's it. The match was over. It was weird. It was just a weird back and forth. The match didn't look like the worst thing on the card, but it was the most disappointing because it was the main event, and the main event had the most to lose. Eventually, though, the match, besides the fact that it was bloody hell, at the end of the match, Cody had the title over him, then Randy snatches it off of him and hits him with the belt. He kept hitting him he hurted him, and that was the end. It ended with Randy standing tall with the belt. So obviously this story isn't over. They might do something down the line, but it doesn't mean the Randy and Cody feud is over. Not by a long shot. I don't know what's next, if Pat McAfee is still going to be part of it, but Randy did take him out. It would be nice to know why. Maybe he got annoyed with him. He said, don't get in my face or something, but we'll see. It was a whatever ending. I feel numb from this match because I expected it to be bad. And it was. No, they didn't change my mind. I got exactly what I expected. But anyway, WrestleMania 42 had some talent in it. Talent in the mat and the whole night. It had names, it had all the resources, a massive stage. They obviously always backed up by the history and had all the money behind it to make this one of the greatest spectacles ever. More than ever with the amount they're trying to charge. It had everything it needed to feel special, and yet it still came across uneven. It came underperformed, undercooked, overly managed, some potential throughout the matches, but they never fully hit the thing. And in the most important spot of the night, the most that could have been a potential with all this hints of double turning, it still felt flat because they never fully went for it. It's like they're afraid of Cody turning heel. They're truly afraid for that to happen because they don't know what's going to happen to the product. So it looks genuinely bad. Fatu and McIntyre, though, showed up. Seth and Gunther showed up. The Paige surprise was fun, even though it got ruined. It was great to see her in WWE again. We'll see what they do with her. Because, Carlito came back too, and they never used them properly. So hopefully Paige does get used properly. I'm sure Alberto Del Rio's kicking air right now. Because he wished he would be here. But he's not. Speed's table spot will live online forever now. It's probably going to be his highest video on YouTube right now. But the show raced through all the matches like it felt like a Saturday night main event. because they do that too. It gave its biggest women's match less than 7 minutes. It's present. It wasn't presented well. After all that match. The biggest women's match presented like shit. It presented its main event with broken methods of making people choose whether they want to choose Cody or Randy as the heel or face. Just messed up psychology all around. It was a muddled story from the beginning. They never clarified it. They tried to clarify it on SmackDown with Randy trying to do one more opportunity to make the story straight, but it didn't happen. And none of that is acceptable when you're calling yourself Wrestlemania. Wrestlemania, you put that title of Wrestlemania on your event, you better expect this to be the best show ever, and it didn't. Now, like I said, it wasn't a disaster, but that's not good enough. And at WrestleMania, those words should never be in the same sentence, never. But before I let you all go, drop your answer in the comments. Was Seth's versus Gunther's match the best match of the night? Or do you think it was not the greatest because the finish was robbed by Bron Breaker's interference? Should Stephanie Becker gotten more time with Liv Morgan? And does this title change already feel like a problem with the way it got won? And of course, the main event with the whole messed up of the double turn tease and the flat out bad booking from the beginning. Do you think this match ever delivered? Let me know. Thanks for watching. If the T hit right, hit the like and subscribe, and we will talk about night 2 in a future video, and I'll see you on the next one.